For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the media mothership.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, here we are, Media Mothership Thursdays, and going as smoothly as the Friday shows. I'm Craig, joined by co-host Taylor and
Hello.
special guest Marcus.
Howdy, howdy.
At Media Mothership, we explore how media around us helps shape our view of reality. And today we're going to dive into some really interesting topics, mainly building up to WrestleMania, so wrestling and WWE. If you do want to engage with us on the show, we are streaming on YouTube and Twitch, as well as on edgeradio.org.au. You can send us a chat message on the Twitch or YouTube services, or SMS us directly in studio on 0488811707. I think we're at Edge Radios.
Yeah, brilliant.
Nipaluna. How about Tasmania? All right, let's jump straight in right now because we've got tons of content to get through. Full disclosure, I'm a reasonably new wrestling convert. I'd watched it tons as a kid in the 80s. What's your background, Taylor?
I've just watched a couple, just in terms of, when I need to go to the toilet,
Self-defense.
have one on. Need to go to sleep, I have one on. That sort of thing.
You go to sleep with wrestling?
Oh, yeah.
Like you'd put a match on
Yeah.
and it helps you sleep?
Yeah, just because, they've got the full match
That's
and that
great.
goes for quite a while, so... Yeah.
Top 5 wrestling to watch to sleep to. And Marcus, who you've got a lot of heavy lifting to, because neither Taylor or I are really evoking much, I think, relief in the audience, thinking these guys know what they're doing. What's your wrestling experience?
I've only recently started watching it, sort of in the last year and a bit. But I had a couple of friends in primary school who were super into wrestling. One at my first primary school who was really into WCW, heard all about that. Then a friend at my next school who was super into WWF, now WWE, and I heard all about the Attitude Era as he was watching it. And then I sort of... Super Eyepatch Wolf, if anyone's ever watched him on YouTube, does some extremely good content on wrestling, and he did a video in 2018. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I started reading up a whole bunch of stuff about the history of wrestling, but didn't really watch much of it because I didn't quite understand it. And then he made another video, end of 2023. I started watching a whole bunch of wrestling content. Just people reviewing it, and then I got some friends together and was like, let's watch the Royal Rumble in 2024. We started meeting up once a month to watch the premium live events, and then I started watching the weekly shows probably around the end of last year.
And as you were saying before we went on air, wrestling is in a golden age at the moment. I mean, if you're wanting to jump in on it, you're not alone. It's pretty much at a point at which it's as popular as it's ever been.
Possibly. It's in its third major boom period of the last 50 years, which is sort of been spearheaded by Cody Rhodes as the top babyface of the company and Triple H as the chief creative officer.
And Cody Rhodes as the babyface or hero character.
He's Captain America.
Yeah, he has that kind of blonde platinum hair and very much looks like a Captain America figure. Would that be correct?
Yes, he's got his logo, which has the American flag tattooed on his neck. So yes, he loves America.
And so he's a real distillation of this. Would you say patriotic figure, or much like Captain America, he's a kind of, cipher for aspirational narratives around, the manifest destiny America.
I'd say that he's definitely more along the lines of MCU cinematic, like the film version of Captain America, in that he espouses the ideal of the American dream, because his father, Dusty Rhodes, was nicknamed the American Dream, and Cody is nicknamed the American Nightmare, but he's not Captain Patriotic.
No.
It's living up to the ideal of the American dream that he's into.
And that's a perfect segue for the first bit we're going to unpack. So there are 2 bits of wrestling which I want to spend today's show unpacking to potentially help someone if they're wanting to jump into WrestleMania that's just around the corner, right? So WrestleMania is currently on Netflix, is it? Is Netflix is doing it, right? Netflix is doing WrestleMania.
Yes, WWE has an exclusive deal with Netflix, so all of their TV shows and all of their premium live events are on Netflix. And WrestleMania is the climax of the year, even though it happens in April.
So I've got a 35-second sting that Netflix have put together for their WrestleMania 41. Which
Sting will not be there, though. He's contracted to AEW, and they won't let him. Sorry.
So you're as bad as I am.
Let's go! It will be a night forever etched in history.
Welcome to a new era. Welcome to WrestleMania.
All right, 20th and 21st of April, WrestleMania. So that's the little Netflix promo piece. Top comment for that is, I'm waiting for Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins triple threat match as night 1 main event, and night 2 Cody Rhodes versus electrifying John Cena side by side with The Rock for the Undisputed Championship. WrestleMania 41 on Netflix is going to be legendary. Is that the vibe that people have at the moment? That top comment 9 days ago by Wrestling Channel.
I'd say probably 75% the vibe. This has been the reaction to the build of this one has been a little more mixed than last year, but a lot of people are very keen for it.
So one of the things in terms of unpacking WrestleMania 41, which is around the corner, are 2 events. I guess one is the big one to talk about, which is the role of John Cena leading into it with the heel turn previously. Yes. And then unpacking a little bit about what WrestleMania will probably present to us in terms of your views, Marcus, on what do you think is going to go down. There's a clip that I'll play to get you to discuss, which is 5 things that should happen at WrestleMania 41. And we'll talk about what people are anticipating WrestleMania 41 is going to be about. So jumping now into the Jon Stewart thing, what we'll do is I'll play some clips, but before that, I don't have anything that sets it up. So, Marcus, what was the John Cena heel turn?
So for anyone who's unfamiliar, in wrestling parlance, a babyface is a good guy who you cheer for, a heel is a bad guy who you boo. And a heel turn means someone who was a babyface becomes a heel, and a face turn means someone who was a heel becomes a babyface. So John Cena has been a babyface for about 22 years. He's been a good guy for over 2 decades. Last year, he announced his retirement because he's only been working a couple of matches a year since he's gone off to Hollywood and Peacemaker and all the other good stuff. He announced his retirement tour, and he could have just coasted back. He could have just played the hits. He could have been the smiling G shucks golly G babyface, but no.
Because he'd announced he's going to retire. So that announcement came out, and you think, okay, he's got a year, and people are saying this is going to be a great way to send him off. His fan base is there.
Yep.
And what was the event that he did the heel turn at? It was something?
So he basically did a promo or a little speech amping people up before the Royal Rumble, which is the first PLE of the year, premium live event, saying he's going to win it in his babyface character, gets eliminated, the last person to be eliminated. So he comes second in the Rumble, and if you win the Royal Rumble, you get a shot at a title of your choosing. And he did this very strange speech at the press conference saying he would always do what is best for business, and what's best for business is that he headlines WrestleMania. Everyone's like, okay, that's weird. Didn't appear on TV for a little while. Comes back at the Elimination Chamber. Whoever wins that, because it was a 6-man elimination match. Whoever wins that gets to challenge for the other title. And he wins that, and they had this storyline going on in the weeks leading up to it, where The Rock, who is essentially the main villain of the WWE universe right now, says to Cody Rhodes that he wants his soul. And Cody Rhodes comes out at the end of the Elimination Chamber, didn't have a match on that card, congratulates Cena on winning, and he says, "Hey, Rock, go F yourself." And then he hugs Cena, and the way they film it is that Cena is facing The Rock, and so The Rock makes a throat-slitting motion at John Cena, and John Cena's facial expression completely changes to indicate that now he's actually a bad guy, and then they absolutely beat the snot out of Cody Rhodes in the ring, and Cena turns heel. And Cody did a blade job and everything, so he was covered in blood by the end of it. Travis Scott.
Right, really. So, and this, we're talking here about the Captain America type figure
Yes.
of Cody, who has, very much been a good guy, and while he's facing off against The Rock, who is I guess in universe, this incredibly powerful figure.
He's
right?
basically Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
So he's like enormously powerful behind the scenes and on the scenes, and but Cody has Cena in his corner.
Yep.
And so he'll be able to stand up against The Rock regardless. Yep. However, as we saw there at that scene, there's been some deal done. There's been some betrayal of our hero Cody. That's meant that John Cena, who it's his retirement year, has turned the bad guy.
He could have coasted. He could have just played the hits, and people would have been happy with that. But they've actually decided to creatively challenge him because people have been crying out for Cena to turn heel for years. Because when he was the face of the, because he was the previous Captain America, and when he was head
John
of
Cena, right?
when Cena was face of the company from sort of 2005 to I guess 2013, 2014, people didn't like him because they thought he was overly strong. They thought he was being shoved down their throats, and they would boo him. And that's actually played into his character as a heel. Because he started out as a heel playing the Doctor of Thugonomics, who was a white rapper.
Doctor of Thugonomics. I love that name. Doctor of Thugonomics.
It's so
and what was
good.
his moves like? He'd have the various thug-based moves he'd make.
Oh, yeah. His finisher was originally called the FU, which they changed to the Attitude Adjustment. And then his submission hold was called the STFU, which they changed to the SDF. And, yeah, he deliberately, what they've done is interesting because The Rock hasn't even been mentioned since Elimination Chamber. He's just disappeared. So we don't know any of the details surrounding his alliance with Cena. So hopefully that plays into WrestleMania. But what they've done is instead of him playing the Doctor of Thugonomics, which everyone wanted, because that would make people cheer for him because it's such a beloved heel character, he's deliberately playing a whiny heel and trying to do everything to make the audience hate him and be as uncharismatic as possible.
Which is, super courageous. Let's listen to some clips that I've compiled to try and bounce off further why this matters, right? That obviously we're talking about something that's scripted. Nevertheless, this has sent ripples throughout a broader media landscape. So the first one's going to be Triple H reveals the impact of John Cena's shocking heel turn. Now, Triple H, for those that don't know, Marcus is the one of the bosses, right?
Chief creative officer. So he is the head booker, and he plans out all the major storylines. And he also had a storied career as a wrestler with the WWE for over 25 years.
So kind of like...
So he's retired now.
He's had a heart condition, and he had to retire, or he would die.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's listen to Triple H, who's kind of like the showrunner. He's the one involved in a lot of these script moves and would have been... Well, we'll hear what he says.
That John Cena heel turn has got everyone talking. It's got everyone even more pumped. Have you known a build-up like this?
You know, it's crazy. It's crazy that sometimes in our business, the fans that are the most hardcore have seen everything, begin to feel like, it's just more the same or whatever. But it's very rare for us to have a moment in time where we have somebody like a John Cena who's been, the ultimate good guy, the ultimate, nice guy for 20 plus years, that everybody knows is a household name inside WWE and outside of WWE, right? He is a household name. To captivate the world in a moment where he becomes a bad guy and everybody, popular or not, my mother-in-law is in the cabinet of the United States, right? And so as a Secretary of Education, she was just at an event, State of the Union event, and as she was walking out, the one question she gets yelled at by a reporter is, "Linda, can you tell me what your feelings are on the John Cena heel turn?" Right? Like when it resonates in the world that big, you're onto something big. John's an incredible talent. He's sort of riding off into the sunset of a very long and successful career as he transitions into movies and doing other things with his life. He'll always be a part of WWE, but this opportunity for him to one more time come in and just blow up the world in a way that very few can is awesome. So I'm excited to see where all this goes, and WrestleMania is going to be incredible.
Remember this kid from Heels?
Sorry. Here we go. Yep. So as you were saying, Marcus, he could have played it safe, and the wrestling audience were expecting, as you were saying, a kind of like just a best of collection of Cena for the last year. But instead, they've thrown this curveball at him. Two interesting things about that clip. One is, I guess, I mean, it's not. Would that be kind of a kayfabe discussion, like talking about the process behind the scenes?
It would be an outside of kayfabe discussion. So kayfabe, for those who don't know, refers to the fictional reality that takes place within the storyline of WWE, because or wrestling in general.
Yep.
Because it's open knowledge these days that wrestling is scripted and the conflicts are not real. Although sometimes the people who are playing rivals genuinely don't like each other. But back in the day, prior to the 1980s, it was sort of 50-50. The fact that it was predetermined was a closely guarded secret, and they used the term kayfabe to refer to that because it's a corruption of Pig Latin for be fake. So basically, if wrestlers were out in public, and if you might have a babyface and a heel who in real life are great friends, and that's the reason why they have a rivalry, is because they trust each other to be safe in a match where they're not trying to actually hurt each other. But if they see fans, they'll say kayfabe, meaning be fake, we're in character now, and we can't interact.
So it's so interesting that, yes, you have that, the kayfabe of this being John Cena, heel turn, betrayal, and a lot of the media reaction to that betrayal has jumped onto that.
Cena himself is being extremely media savvy right now because he's not giving any out-of-universe interviews. So he's doing his best to maintain that suspension of disbelief.
So he's very much ramping up that whiny heel turn persona.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's interesting. We'll have then moments like that was Sky News interviewing Triple H, where Triple H will unpack it for the enjoyment of that side of the audience that want to see the non-universe, non-kayfabe explanation. The other interesting thing about that, which I just found, I hadn't heard it the first time I listened to it, was the fact that Triple H refers to his mother-in-law being in the U.S. cabinet as, what is it, the Minister of Education or something?
Secretary of Education.
Huge spot, which is one of the things which I've just been fascinated by in terms of that relationship Donald Trump and the current U.S. administration has to WWE. That there's clearly, we played on, I think the previous episode we had you on, we did the hair events with Donald Trump against Vince McMahon and unpacked a little bit of that previous history before Trump entered politics. And it is fascinating that, I mean, while Triple H's mother-in-law wasn't a wrestler, I assume.
She was on the show. She was on
Right.
She was on Raw and SmackDown and the pay-per-views for WWE. She has taken bumps. So she's taken one of the worst Stone Cold stunners ever, and she's slapped people, and I think she's been slapped.
No kidding.
To my knowledge, I do not think she has actually participated in matches, but she's been an on-screen authority figure.
So the current U.S. Secretary of Education, well, that would be really legit if she wasn't part of, conservative,
Yeah, we can say a lot of things to fault McMahon because he is a truly strange person and he's done some truly atrocious things in his life. But one of his few good points is that he employed all of his family because he's such a workaholic that otherwise he wouldn't have seen them. So he basically found jobs for his wife, daughter, and son in his business.
Very royal family.
Yeah,
I feel. All right, so taking that as I'm going to take that tangent in terms of how if you're understanding wrestling, you can also understand part of the current political landscape in America. This clip, in terms of Triple H, one of the comments, I think it was the third comment on the YouTube, says, Jon Stewart did a whole piece on this on an episode. So I'll play a little bit from that Jon Stewart episode. So Jon Stewart's still doing The Daily Show, which is a satirical comedy news show. And here he is trying to explain I think this is a month ago, that encounter that the Ukrainian president Zelenskyy had with DJ Vance and Donald Trump in the White House, where suddenly things took a really dark turn. And Jon Stewart's here explaining the meaning of that in terms of the John Cena heel turn. So let's listen to this Jon Stewart clip now.
Well, let's get to the big story. Americans are still trying to process the global realignment that has occurred following the disastrous Oval Office meeting between the president, J.D. Vance, and Volodymyr Zelenskyy. What happened, they say? Are we still America, they say? Whose side are we on, they say? It's complicated. The best way that I can explain what happened and show Americans how to process this new reality was with another shocking turn of events from this weekend.
On Saturday night at the Elimination Chamber, the WWE shocked the world as John Cena turned heel, joined The Rock, and attacked Cody Rhodes.
Now, if that does not immediately explain to you our current geopolitical climate, you must have grown out of watching wrestling through the normal course of aging. I, on the other hand, understand this in my bones. This explains it, folks. All of your shock, all of your disappointment, all of your anger. It's in there. It's in the squared circle. You see, Saturday night, oh, we're doing this. Saturday night, John Cena, the good guy of professional wrestling, Mr. Hustle, the champ, the man who stood for everything, truth, justice, the guy who literally holds the record for the most Make-A-Wish Foundation meetings of all time. People would get cancer just to meet John Cena. Last weekend, Cena flipped the script and went from being a face, a good guy, to a heel, a bad guy. Now, if you don't follow professional wrestling, and I'm guessing if you watch this show, you do not. Judging from, all right. But let me continue to bore you with this metaphor. So here's what happened. The current WWE champion is one Cody Rhodes. Around. Stands in for Zelenskyy in this metaphor. A couple of weeks ago, The Rock, the now evil owner of the WWE, Putin in our story, made Cody Rhodes an offer.
The one thing that I want more than anything in this world is that I want your soul.
So that was the whole Rock soul bit, right?
Yep.
Which is where The Rock is wanting ownership of Cody. Like, what does that mean, that The Rock wants Cody's soul?
So basically, he wanted Cody to sell out and become his underling. And for what reason, it's not entirely clear. Also, it's so disturbing hearing The Rock using first-person pronouns.
Because normally it would be...
The Rock wants your soul. The Rock's going to go over here and he's going to make himself a tequila slammer on the corner of Know Your Role Boulevard and Jabroni Drive. And then The Rock's going to lay the smackdown in your candy rectum.
But in this case, yeah, so we've got The Rock. I mean, and again, Jon Stewart's using the metaphor of this for politics. So as much as Putin invaded Ukraine, so again, wanted the territory of Ukraine, The Rock wants Cody's brand, identity, being as an underling to would it be to turn heel himself, or just he
would want Cody to turn heel, yes.
So okay, let's see where the analogy goes next.
Putin, he wants Zelenskyy so, but sir, I am smaller and weaker than you. It will take incredible bravery for me to protect my soul and the soul of my people. But luckily, I am not protecting my soul alone. For I have the support of the great John Cena! So, Cody Rhodes, Zelenskyy, told Vladimir Putin, Rock, no soul for you, motherfucker! And that's when they met in the Oval Office. America went to hug Zelenskyy, but when America looked up, somehow Putin had given John Cena the international sign for its time. And rather than repudiate Putin, America smelled what The Rock was cooking. And through that borschte haze, America delivered the nut shot. The nut shot to the...
So that's an interesting point, because the nature of John Cena's heel turn, was outrageously vile in terms of he kicks Cody in the nuts. Or so it seems in the angle that we've got. Which, perfectly done in terms of, what a dastardly, dirty move to do. Again, in this metaphor, watching it as the audience, you're expecting this is the scene where Cena has Cody's back. They've embraced, and as the audience, we're going to see the fulfillment of that great alliance. Disprove The Rock's menacing intent, but instead, as we got in that White House moment, so we get in that wrestling moment, betrayal. Your USA or Cena has turned and is supporting The Rock / Putin instead. You should use that in classes, I think. All right, I'll just see if this goes any further. I think that's about it.
Hopes and dreams of Ukrainians everywhere. And then, for no reason, America jumped on Zelenskyy and started punching him in the face as many times as he could.
Because it's such a violent... How did you... when you were watching that, you hadn't seen any hints about it before when you saw it first?
Yeah, I had no spoilers. I watched it live.
Because it was violent, right? He kicks him in the balls.
Yep.
Cody goes down.
Yep.
And then Cena's jumping on top of him and just hammering his face, right?
Yeah.
He's just laying in relentlessly with punches into his head.
Yep, and Cody does a blade job, which for those who don't watch wrestling means that they hide very small pieces of razor on themselves, and at a dramatic moment when no one's looking, they'll cut part of their forehead open so they start bleeding on their face to make it more dramatic. And then Travis Scott, the hip-hop artist, who is currently the hardcore champion, literally at a Travis Scott concert, Triple H just appears, walks on stage, and gives him the hardcore belt. So he's sort of like the third member of this evil alliance. Starts punching Cody as well, and apparently actually ruptured Cody's eardrum in real life because he didn't know how to pull his punches.
Okay, that's...
So who would Travis Scott be in this whole US, Ukraine, Russia analogy? Possibly, yeah.
So fascinating. Now, as we've been talking about, there's one of the interesting frames that's emerged initially, which I caught, was shortly after that, Cena then goes to, where is it? Is it Scotland or somewhere?
I think it's Belgium is the one that you're thinking of.
Right, yeah. With
or Luxembourg.
The little kid that's dressed up in all the, previously on-brand John Cena merchandise, which was John Cena the babyface merchandise. And so we'll do this little clip of the viral kid loved John Cena's heel turn. So this is part of the confusion that some of the media took up this approach of saying, John Cena's breaking kids' hearts. Here's this kid that turned up, and the meme circulated around, how I feel like that kid when, something I believe in's betrayed. But the kid himself loved it, right? So let's listen to this a little bit.
Remember this kid from heel Cena's Monday Night Raw? Well, Cena called out this kid dressed just like him, saying the kid was part of his toxic relationship with the audience. But guess what? The kid loved it. All right. Speaking to an outlet in Brussels, kid said, Cena has been my hero for 10 years. I didn't know he'd talk down to me, but I understand it's part of his character. And he still wants Cena to beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. So, are you Team Cena or Team Cody?
Is Team Cena and Team Cody, has that become the division? Or
they haven't really used that kind of language in the show itself. But I think it's probably been used sort of more as like fan speak.
What was your take on the viral kid?
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. I didn't know if he was a plant or
Right.
if Cena just saw a kid and decided to single him out.
Because, yeah, he's like 12 years old or something.
And he just looks absolutely gobsmacked. It's brilliant.
So clearly the kid, though, took it apart in terms of not the kayfabe, but the behind-the-scenes reality.
Yeah.
Have you seen the viral thing about the kid?
No.
It's
But I heard it.
absolutely crazy. All right, so the next little clip, we're going to play some reactions to various wrestling entities. First one's Logan Paul.
Oh, hello.
Here we go.
Controversy.
So Logan Paul reacts to John Cena heel turn.
I like the Cena heel turn. It's almost a shame because it's like, I kind of wish we had more than just his last year of being a heel.
I felt like it was coming. The way he was acting in these press conferences, something felt like he's about to switch.
It was cool to see him come to what I call the bright side. I knew he was a snake, but I didn't think he was going to snake the whole WWE audience.
If you were...
Do you think it's going to go for more than a year?
No, he's been very clear that he is retiring at the end of this year. So, and Cena's got, he's got a whole bunch of other projects that he wants to work on. He's in movies, he's in TV shows, he has voice acting gigs as well, and he's going to want to focus on those. Because 1, more exposure, 2, more money, 3, less wear and tear on the body. And the other is that because he's now 47, he just simply cannot go the same way that he used to in the ring.
It'd be interesting. So also Logan Paul, Logan Paul says he knew he was a snake. What do you reckon? A snake? Is there any snakeness to, or is Logan Paul playing his character, the wrestling character, who himself is kind of a heel?
No, I think he means like he's a snake in that he's unassuming and then he'll turn on you when you least expect it.
John Cena has a reputation for that, or?
So I haven't really watched any of the era when Cena was the main guy from the mid to late 2000s and the early 10s. I do know that he has a bit of a reputation because, again, Vince McMahon was very heavily involved in Cena's characterization, and McMahon, being a very strange dude, doesn't know what an actual hero is like. And so Cena would do some really questionable stuff, and he'd take things way farther than some of the heels would.
So talking of questionable stuff, I want to get to the next clip is Hulk Hogan on a John Cena heel turn.
Oh, boy.
There we go.
If you were able to give John Cena advice, would you tell him to turn heel when he was at his prime?
Thing was, when you're at your prime, that's where you can, turn to all Cena fans and never give up and just look at him and go, you know what, I did it for the money. And he would be one of the hottest heels ever. Then, whether it's running 6 months or 6 years or 2 years, when you repent and you beg for forgiveness, he would be hotter than he was before as a babyface.
What do you make? Which is interesting, Hulk Hogan's take on it as terms of a character arc. You turn heel, you say you did it for the money, then you beg for forgiveness, and you'll come out at the end as even more of a babyface. Which sounds really convincing. I was thinking, actually, that's probably how it's going to end.
Hogan's done it himself to
Right.
extremely successful results.
So this is the, because I've got the Hulk Hogan 96 heel turn. Is this what this is referring to?
Yes. The leg drop heard around the world.
So we'll play a little bit from this. This is from Stunned by Wrestling channel, doing the Hulk Hogan 96 heel turn saved his career.
Hulk Hogan's heel turn in 1996 was one of the most shocking moments in wrestling history. In 1994, Hogan joined WCW, where he initially continued in his babyface role, and Hogan needed a change in order to stay relevant. The turning point came at Bash at the Beach in 1996. During a tag team match, Hogan shocked the world by joining forces with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to form the New World Order. Gone was the red and yellow, and in its place was the black and white of the NWO and a new persona, Hollywood Hogan. This character was the antithesis of everything that Hogan had previously stood for. He was arrogant and he was willing to cheat to win. Hogan's heel turn was a masterstroke that completely revitalized his career. Hulk Hogan's...
So, is that an accurate take on that moment?
Yeah, I'd say so. Hogan's heel turn at Bash at the Beach 96 is often held up as the gold standard of heel turns. And Cena's is widely seen as being, the best since
Really?
Hogan's.
Right. Yep. And so Hogan, however, unlike Cena, wasn't just going out that year. That was an identity he then fleshed out over a number of years. And then, where did he end? Did he end like he's prophesizing Cena's end will be? That he turned babyface and he begged for forgiveness and turned babyface again. Is that?
So he turned babyface again in 1999, and in WCW. But that was at a period where they were hemorrhaging viewers, and it was. And so even though the crowds lapped it up, because the crowds are fickle. Because he made it big in WWF in the 80s to the early 90s. Then moved to WCW, which was the main competitor. And WWF's based up north, WCW's based down south. And the crowds didn't like him. Even though he drew a ton of money for buy rates for pay-per-views, the crowds themselves, the core fan base they weren't enamored of Hogan. And they loved booing him when he turned heel. But then when he turned babyface again in 99, they were actually cheering him something chronic.
And do you think that's where Cena's headed as well? Do you reckon he'll turn babyface by the end?
He will have to turn babyface again by the end.
Right. Beg for forgiveness. And
I don't know if he'll beg for forgiveness, but he'll have some kind of redemption moment in the second half of the year. And it's basically an unwritten rule of wrestling that you always have to lose your last match to make the new talent look really impressive. So Cena's proved that time and time again over the last 10 years he's got no problem losing to elevate new talent. So he'll turn babyface again and he'll go out on his back. Either he'll people aren't really sure who his final match is going to be against. If he's going to be used to build up a new heel, if he's going to have a match against one of his old rivals like CM Punk or The Miz or Randy Orton, or maybe he'll have a babyface versus babyface match with Cody Rhodes at the end. Who knows?
How far away from that are we? I mean, we're heading to WrestleMania, so it's not going to be WrestleMania that this wraps up. It'll be what big match at the end of his?
He'll retire at the end of the year. So I reckon his last big PLE match will either be at Survivor Series in November, which is one of the big 4 PLEs, or he'll go out and, I don't know, maybe Saturday night's main event in December. But he'll definitely retire at the end of the year.
All right, so we've got until December. All right, so Triple H drops truth about Cena's heel turn. So, again, I think this is more behind-the-scenes discussion.
So what about the heel turn then of John Cena? John and I spoke. Look, I have my thoughts on things, but whatever you want me to do, I will give you 1,000%, and I will do that to the best of my ability. When we talked, he was like, look, if you want me to lose every match, it's fine with me. You want me to win every match, it's fine with me. But as a performer, you're sort of going through the motions. You're playing the same concert you've played a million times, and people love it, but I've seen it. But I went to John and said, what if we pulled the lever that no one wanted to ever pull? And what if we turn you heel? Because to me, it sort of felt like never do it. So when we go through that and John and I talk about it, and John is like, wow, I didn't think that's where you were going to go. You know, as far as like...
Oops, hold on.
So what about the heel turn then of John Cena?
There you go. All right, so, yeah, I mean, again, that's reinforcing that idea that instead of playing it safe, pull the lever that you never want to pull.
Yes, and just do something that McMahon would never do, because for so long Cena was his golden boy. Cena sold so much merch to the kids. He's done over 650 Make-A-Wish trips to sick or dying kids. And one of the main reasons why he never turned heel when, you know, the vocal adult fan base wanted him to turn heel is because the kids loved him. And in every major match that Cena was in for that period, you'd basically hear alternating chants of kids and women going, "Let's go, Cena," and adult men going, "Cena sucks." And they've started doing that again since the heel turn, because people still love him out of universe. So you got people who will play along and people who won't play along.
Let's listen to The Rock now. So this is a piece on The Rock on John Cena's heel turn and what's next.
Time for one last question.
I'll just get to the actual question.
This is that it's the part of the business that I love. Two parts of this. It's a part of the business that I love. And I grew up in this business, as we know. I was very fortunate to grow up in this. And the part of the business that I love is that we can create things like this, where I can create this belt.
So the belt he's referring to here is Cody sold June 11th, 2015.
Yeah, a really strange part of the Rock and Cody rivalry is that the Rock he has this like white pleather belt, and he loves whipping Cody with it.
That's right, yeah,
and
he whips him.
It's a bit they've done last year and this year. They've done it at so many major events, and it's honestly kind of weird at this point. It's just so overplayed. It's like, does The Rock just have a kink?
All right, well, let's keep listening.
But I just didn't want to put a belt that's at Cody's soul. I need a date that memorializes things, but also a date that means something to me, but really means something to me. It's going to tie into my second part of this answer regarding John, which was, June 11, 2015, when Dusty Rhodes passed away. For those of you who don't know, Cody's dad, Dusty Rhodes, Cody's dad and my dad, Rocky Johnson, they were best buds. They did everything together.
So what The Rock's talking about here is that longer intergenerational history of wrestling, which sometimes plays out.
Yep.
So The Rock's dad was a wrestler. Cody's dad was a wrestler.
Cody's dad was a wrestler, and his half brother is a wrestler as well.
And that's playing into the current storyline as well. All right.
Riding horses, etc., especially down in Florida. We would go to Dusty's house all the time. But right before Cody was born, because I'm about 10, 12 years older than him. And so Dusty was one of my heroes. So I thought, well, what's a thing that I could really... Anytime I come back home to WWE and I do something, I got to have skin in the game. I got to have, really sink my teeth into something. And what's real? What feels real to me? Well, your dad was one of my heroes. So I'm going to put his date here. And if I get the opportunity, and if you tell me no, and if you tell me in his very eloquent way, he told me no to... It's like, wow. I don't know if you ever said that in front of 38,000 people like that. What a moment. But as I was saying, it's the most fun part. It's the part about our business that we love in creating moments. So with John, I don't know if I was the influence to this. Perhaps, maybe I was a conduit to help him in a way, in my small way. I don't want to take any credit for this, because this is John. In my small way, a conduit to help John get to the place he's gotten tonight. So storyline, no storyline, fiction, nonfiction. What you guys felt tonight out there was decades of what John has experienced as a performer and as a human being. And I felt it in the ring. I've had conversations with John. We're good buddies. I knew what his why was going into this. And it is so incredibly moving and compelling, and it grips you by the neck when he talks about it, as he's talked to me about it. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing tonight. And again, storyline, no storyline, fiction, nonfiction. The greatest, I think, angles in wrestling is when it's anchored in some sort of authenticity. And what you felt tonight, he didn't say a word. Look, he came out and dropped the mic.
So there we have The Rock, again, talking about this kind of merging, this kind of postmodern space of wrestling where fiction, non-fiction, storyline, not storyline, it's this kind of intensity of the experience. Has that generated part of the interest in wrestling? Are you fascinated to see where this goes next?
Oh, absolutely. One of the really good things about the current storytelling is that they plant a lot of plot threads that don't have answers, and you have to keep watching to see what's going to happen. So we don't know when The Rock's coming back, because apparently he's not scheduled for WrestleMania.
Right. So even though he was, as you're saying here, in terms of unpacking his role in the John Cena heel turn, he was just there to help Cena take that next step in the heel turn.
I think at some point we're going to see a tag team match, because I reckon we'll see Cody and CM Punk versus The Rock and John Cena, because CM Punk, who's one of the other top guys, had a rivalry with Cena back in the day, came out and cut this intense promo yelling at Rock and Cena and calling them bald frauds after they beat up Cody on the following Raw. But yeah, as you say, there's a really good blurring of fiction and reality, and that's because wrestling as a form of entertainment requires a huge amount of suspension of disbelief, because if you don't buy into it, it's ridiculous. So my wife has walked past and seen me watching wrestling. She goes, "How do you watch this? It's so fake. Like their punches aren't anywhere near." Yeah, but it's about the emotion and the storyline. That's what's important. And they've done things where they've been completely fictional and they haven't landed as well as they could have. There's a storyline they did in the late 1990s where one wrestler called The Big Show was being targeted by another one called The Big Boss Man, who was a heel. And they do this sequence where Big Show's dad passes away and the Boss Man rocks up at the funeral in the Bluesmobile with the big old speaker and is screaming abuse through a megaphone at him. And then they have a match much later. The Big Show beats the Boss Man. It's this huge cathartic moment, and it's like, oh, his dad's looking down on him. Paul White, who plays the Boss Man, his dad was alive and well and survived for another 18 years before passing away of old age. And so that one is not fondly remembered because they've made something blatantly fictional. Whereas because so much of Cody's story is, his dad was a great wrestler in the 70s and the 80s, and his dad never did get to have the WWE title. And his dad was a trainer who trained a lot of his rivals, like Roman Reigns, who was The Rock's cousin. Because there is that grounding in reality, it does make the storyline feel a lot more plausible and a lot more engaging.
So we've got about 10 minutes left. Let's move to WrestleMania 41 now. So I haven't seen this clip. I'm hoping it's an interesting clip. It's 5 things that should happen at WrestleMania 41. It only goes 37 seconds. So
oh boy, 37.
Yeah, 37. I have no idea how I was going to put 5 things in there.
Wow.
Let's see.
5 things that should happen at WrestleMania 41. Dominic Mysterio should win the Intercontinental title.
No.
I'm not...
Dom Mysterio. He is one of the best heels in the company right now. Everyone hates him with a passion, and he laps it up.
His costuming's fantastic. He looks such like a bogan.
He looks
so horrible.
He looks so
hair.
punchable. He looks so punchable, and his entire storyline is that he's a man-child whose girlfriend buys him a PS5 and lets him eat chicken tendies, and he's just. But he doesn't need that. He doesn't need a belt because he's already. And everyone will basically acknowledge, out of universe, he's a really talented wrestler and he's a really good performer, but he's just so punchable and hateable that he doesn't need the belt.
Who was his ex-girlfriend? There was that love triangle.
His kayfabe ex-girlfriend is Rhea Ripley, who's challenging for the women's
The Australian wrestler. Right?
Yeah, challenging for the women's world championship, and his kayfabe current girlfriend is Liv Morgan, who is one of the tag team champions. She's also an incredible heel.
The babyface heel, right? So are they both heels, or?
Dom and Liv are both heels. Rhea was a babyface, but they say so. It was a heel. They say she's a babyface now, but she's not acting like a babyface on TV at the moment.
Oh. But do you think he'll get the Intercontinental belt? Why?
He doesn't need it because some wrestlers,
if he gets it, it'll be.
Some wrestlers do not need titles to be successful.
Right. Yep. Whereas, so it would be wasted.
Yeah.
In terms of actually generating something unexpected or new, or all right, well, let's move on.
Not even kidding. Finn Balor, I'm so sorry you got to eat this pin one more time. CM Punk should win the triple threat. It's his first Mania main event. Send the people home happy. It'll be a great moment for him. Io Sky.
Triple threat.
Triple threat means 3 guys in the ring, 1-on-1-on-1, no disqualification.
And CM Punk to win it?
CM Punk, yes.
Do you reckon?
Well, he's competing against Seth Rollins, who's basically been his arch enemy since he came back to WWE at the end of 2023, and also against Roman Reigns, who is Seth Rollins' arch enemy and has been for about 10 years now. I reckon that Punk should win it because if you compare Punk with the other two, Punk is a really good storyteller in the ring because, again, wrestling's not a competition, it's a story, and Punk's very good at telling those stories and delivering those speeches, those promos. But you can tell that he's not going to be able to wrestle for much longer because his level of physical fitness is nowhere close to the other two.
All right.
And it's his first ever WrestleMania main event, so I reckon he...
Right. It's much like Cena.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's his first Mania main event. Send the people home happy. It'll be a great moment for him. Io Sky should retain the Women's World Championship. Bianca has Jade and Naomi to actually feud with, and a Rhea heel turn might be blooming. That is not...
Wow.
Yes. 100 times yes. Io Sky
this
should
is
retain.
the women's wrestling part of it?
Yes, this is the women's world title. And Io Sky's Japanese. Her English isn't great, and historically speaking... they haven't got. Vince never went for a Japanese champion who couldn't speak English too well.
So wrestling's huge in Japan.
Massive.
Yet the storytelling for the local English-speaking audience is important. So that's a tension, right? So McMahon wouldn't risk it in terms of the fluency of English isn't there, so the storytelling's not going to be as strong. So I'm not going to.
Yeah, to McMahon, wrestling was a product to be bought and sold.
So it's a bit of a gamble then putting Io as the winner.
Yes. Also, so she lost the Women's World Championship last year, where she was a heel, and which she'd gotten by betraying someone, and it was against someone she had betrayed as well, so it made sense for her to lose last year. But this year, it doesn't make as much sense because Rhea Ripley, who was Women's World Champion previously, she's being portrayed as a babyface, but acting like a heel, and yeah, she and Bianca Belair don't need it, but I think Io Sky could do some really good things. So she hasn't really had the chance to do anything with the Women's World Belt because she won it off Ripley when Ripley gave her a match because she felt bad for costing her a spot in the Elimination Chamber, but she hasn't actually defended it against anyone who wasn't Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley on TV, to my knowledge. So she needs time to do something with it.
Interesting. So number 4, the number 4 thing that should happen is...
Not Chad Gable, and it should be revealed as such. It would be might be blooming. That is not Chad Gable, and it should be revealed as such. It would be so funny. And Cody Rhodes, not Chad to actually play with.
Chad Gable, he's a heel who is basically the second coming of Kurt Angle for anyone who was a fan 20 years ago. Who's basically this Olympic douchebag. Who is extremely talented in the ring, but he's just an arrogant twat, and he's got a heel stable called American Made, and basically he's recently started wrestling as a character called El Grande Americano.
Oh my God! So Lucha Libre,
a masked luchador he originates from the Gulf of America,
but he's not.
It's so obvious that El Grande Americano is Chad Gable, but everyone pretends that it's not.
So it's this whole meta political play about the Trump administration relabeling Gulf of Mexico Gulf of America.
Absolutely.
They're doing a Lucha Libre, like he's the Gulf of America.
And he's competing against Rey Mysterio, who many people say is the greatest luchador of all time, because he's been wrestling for well over 30 years, if not longer.
Wow. So there's a whole... so there's a whole political dimension to this, and within the local American audience, they'd also be rooting for the Mexican wrestler over the top of the...
Rey Mysterio is one of the ultimate baby faces.
Right.
Everyone loves him.
Right.
If you want to make a heel really hated, have him beat Rey Mysterio.
Really?
They did that with the qualifying matches for Elimination Chamber. They had Logan Paul beat Rey Mysterio in the qualifying rounds, and it's like, yep, okay. If people didn't hate Logan Paul before, they hate him now.
So you feel like this is going to build up that antagonism?
Yes. And I don't really care who wins because either way, it would be good because either you maintain a beloved babyface or you keep building up this hated heel, but they should not have him unmasked or have it revealed that he's not El Grande Americano, because this joke is brilliant.
El Grande Americano.
I want it to continue because it's so good.
Fantastic. All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. And the number 5 one.
It would be so funny. And Cody Rhodes or John Cena, you decide.
All right.
Are you a wrestling fan?
There's going to be a John Cena Cody Rhodes.
Oh yeah, that's the main event of night 2.
Do you have a prediction?
A prediction? Okay. My prediction is based on something that people wanted to see last year. Basically, last year it was known that there'd be a ton of interference at the end of the main event because it was going to be Bloodline rules, and it was the 40th at WrestleMania, and something special was going to happen, and everyone wanted to see Stone Cold Steve Austin come out and stunner The Rock and stop him from interfering in the match. And that didn't happen because Austin wasn't interested in traveling to Philadelphia, and he was meant to be on the first episode of Raw on Netflix, and he didn't do it because he had knee surgery, had a legitimate reason. But basically people have been asking for a long time now. The meta narrative is, when is Austin coming back? And so he's going to be at WrestleMania 41 because they're inducting one of his matches into the into the Hall of Fame. He's going to be at WWE World signing autographs. He is charging so much more than everyone else. Like, he's charging triple what Cody Rhodes is charging, and Cody's the undisputed champion. So I reckon there's going to be interference from The Rock, and Austin's going to come out and hit The Rock with a stunner.
Really?
Whether or not Cena or Cody wins, my prediction, I'm 75%. I'm 70% that Cody's going to win, because Cody, as the face of the company right now, is a needle mover. He's shipping so much merch. Everyone loves him. So previously, McMahon struggled to create top baby faces that people loved. People loved Hogan. They loved Bret Hart. They loved Shawn Michaels till they didn't. They loved Austin. They loved Rock. They hated Cena, and they hated Roman Reigns. So basically, he struggled to, after sort of the Attitude Era ended, when he no longer had competition as of the early 2000s, McMahon could never really find a top babyface who everyone loved. Triple H doesn't have that problem with Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes is on such a massive run right now. It wouldn't hurt him to lose the title, but I feel like it wouldn't be the right decision. And Cena is trying to get his record-breaking 17th world title. And I feel as though it's not the right decision for him to get that at Mania, because then if he gets that at Mania, well, he defends it for the rest of the year. If he doesn't get it at Mania, well, he's still got motivation and he still keeps on chasing it for the rest of the year, which means that his feud with Cody could continue.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's interesting, unpacking it as that storyline that, yeah, it's only Act 1 and we don't want the hero to...
I reckon, generally speaking, when you're telling stories like they're really well told in a 3-act structure, where you have the babyface win the initial encounter, the heel win the second, and then when it comes to the blow-off, have the babyface win that one. So if they're going to drop... If Cody's going to drop the belt, I have a feeling, because of Randy Orton being advertised with Backlash and him being an old rival of Cena's, I feel as though Cena could win the belt. I feel like it's not the right decision. I feel like maybe have him win it off Cody at SummerSlam in July or in August, and then have his retirement match be a loser leaves town at the end of the year where Cody gets it back. I just feel like WrestleMania is not the right... Because WrestleMania is meant to be the climax of the year. So I feel like Cena winning the title here is not the right time to do it.
Well, you've heard it here, and we're getting a late-minute prediction.
Sorry.
From Taylor.
No, that's my problem.
All right. Well, that's Media Mothership. The alarm's gone. You've heard the predictions there. So if you're interested, WrestleMania is going to be on Netflix this Sunday and Monday? Or Monday? Monday Australian time.
WrestleMania is starting 9 a.m. Sunday.
9 a.m. Sunday.
And that's when my internet goes off.
And it's going to be live. Like, that's when America's watching it that night.
Yep.
Saturday night for them.
Yep.
Sunday 9 for us. That lines up quite nicely for us.
I'm going lo-fi all Sunday and Monday, and because I've got a bunch of friends coming over on Monday to watch it. We're going to watch both nights in one go, and I'm going completely web free until that day.
Fascinating. All right.
I got one question.
Yes.
Because I haven't done anything this
sorry.
episode.
Yeah.
What would your wrestling name be?
My wrestling name?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The Dent Man.
Oh, yeah.
The Dent Man.
The Dent Man.
Nice.
How about you?
What do you reckon Media Mothership could be the good wrestler name? Like, I'd have an alien costume. Like, I'm thinking Little Green Man, big black eyes.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe.
No, the Media Mothership would be your home base. You'd be...
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Something like, I don't know, you'd be Captain Craig.
Yeah, there'd be like this home stadium, like Hobart Stadium would be the mothership, Media Mothership, when I wrestle there.
Yeah.
And
Commander Craig, and you could be like a Star Trek captain.
Brilliant.
I'm thinking more like it was that Kenny Everett show that had the really... Anyway, what about you, Taylor? What would your wrestling name be?
Well, I don't know, Lord Taylor.
Kind of priest.
Yeah.
Kind of like a really dodgy...
Or something like the tripe function.
Well, hold on. No,
something.
yeah, Lord Taylor, very regal, but then you've also been ordained.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I'm thinking more that kind of dodgy priest vibe.
Okay, sounds great.
I think that for you, we would have to go back in time to the early 90s New Generation era where everyone's gimmick was their job.
Yeah.
And you would literally be a tailor who fights with needle and thread and scissors and dresses in fancy suits that are half finished.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Perfect. Well, Crag, so I could be like a Rocky Outcrop.
That could work.
Kind of thing. What about Marcus? Is there any etymology?
Just my nickname.
Mark, you could be a Mark. An easy mark, a hard mark.
I could be the Mark and someone who just spends all his time reading about wrestling online.
right.
Oddly enough, my character's feelings mirror my own.
Keep listening out to Ezra Radio. There's some cool music coming around. In a few weeks' time, we'll have a new episode of something, a new show.
Yeah,
in
new
this
show
time
starting
slot,
up.
which will be
Yep.
DM for
airplay. If you've got a song and you want to hear it on the radio, DM us and we will airplay it.
And you're currently recruiting for that, so if people are interested, you've got a website up yet?
Not the website, but
Facebook.
Head to Facebook. DM for airplay.
DM for airplay on Facebook if you want your music heard on that show. Thanks again, Marcus and Taylor.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Craig.
And check out the WrestleMania event this Sunday and Monday.
Sunday, Monday, 9 a.m.
All right. And JD.